it's not 100%, but it was quite shocking. And I realized like, oh, like I'm gonna be natural, so they'll just think like I stink. Like they'll just assume I did drugs, therefore like really suck or something. It's
yeah, but you can tell
crazy,
somebody who's fully natural against somebody who's really been taking some kind of enhancements of some kind. You can tell the difference because I don't think the form in the bodybuilders that use those kind of
and you get into that like the golden era of Greece, and you get into in Athens, and you get into that, and it's like the aesthetic golden ratio is nothing like that. Nothing like that at all.
That was what the perfect man was supposed to look like, though. The perfect man, aesthetically, is based upon the golden ratio.
Oh, we know what the perfect man looks like because Channing Tatum, obviously.
Nice guy.
Also, Philip, I'll say, Philip, you're a good second, here. Man. You're a good second.
I'm the straight one, and I'm actually more enthralled by him than you, Kyle. What's going on here?
Wow,
we have like reverse roles or something.
Steve, we talked about this before we went on there. You know how you have to have that friend that lets you know when you've gone too far, like always happens. With these type of shows, it doesn't feel like we've been talking for over an hour and a half, but we have. We're at the it flies. So we're gonna kind of wind down the talk, guys. If you have any questions, please put them in the live chat now, and we will ask those to Philip. I know Steve's got a couple of super chats that you can go ahead and read while we wait on if anybody has any questions. So if you do, put them in there now, and Steve, you can go ahead with super chats.
Yeah, one question first before we get to the super was pretty bad actually. So.
That's great. Yeah,
was it based
Spencer
on
again. To shout out Spencer again, Shaolin Kung Fu is I think what a lot of that is based on. Yeah, like just the aesthetics of it. Like without all jokes aside, it does look like that.
Sub-Zero was Shaolin.
There you go.
Scorpion.
Very nice.
Fatality.
Awesome.
Get over here. Okay. Let me get to the super chats here. Give me 1 second here because I have to go on another browser, unfortunately, because many of them went off
and guys, remember that tomorrow Isaac Arthur will be with us. We're talking about the possibility that we could get to the state in society where we are able to actually upload our memories and our consciousness to a sort of like a disk drive. There's a lot of talk about, because of the way that the brain works and it's mapped in electrical currents and how it fires with they think that they're able to replicate that. So essentially you can download your brain into a way that when you got tired of your body or your body got old or whatever, you just upload it into another form. So we're talking about how that would work. Would you do that, Philip? Or do you like the life is
well, the problem is this for me. We talked about limitations earlier. We talked about structure, breeding, creativity, right? For me, the ultimate structure is mortality, is death, right? It's the thing that drives me every day to be creative. I think for a lot of people, it's what drives them to know that they existed, or for others to know that they existed, is to create, is to leave. For me, if you could just become immortal in that way, it would remove any urgency to create, remove any reason really to put down your identity or to kind of define your existence if it didn't matter. It's kind of like the classic Tolkien elves, right? Where they really have no motivation to even push forward with relationships or to do anything really, because they live forever. There's no urgency. And in a lot of the and this goes for religion too. Tolkien elves, religion. Usually sometimes the immortals, they tend to like have this envious look of, especially the Greek canon, right? The Greek mythology, they tend to envy the mortals and get quite angry with them because they have this urgency.
So would you would you forego that and just choose to be like, if you were presented, if that technology existed today and you were presented with the choice of, do you want to upload your memories into a whatever that form would be, would you choose to do it or opt to stay mortal?
Well, I think the problem is if you were to take that first step, you probably would never stop, right? Because I think a lot of us would like to say, it's like, oh, well, I'll just do it once because, there's some business I want to take care of. Like my family's here. And like, if I die now, I need to provide for them. But again, I feel like if you take that first step, then you wouldn't stop. Or maybe they would have to implement some rule. I don't know. Maybe your collective consciousness can only go so far before, it's too bloated. And
I think they would. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's my question. Like, what happens when you get so many people like staying alive that you run out? Like, there's not enough room for that, number one. And I think that too, it would be a program, I guess, that would run as long as you wanted to, until you terminated it. To me, I agree with you with what you were saying though, and how life is precious because it's so limited. And the ideals, side of me, the idealist side of me thinks that's the way to go. However, if I'm given the choice, I think that my basic instinct to want to stay alive would opt for sticking around.
I see two issues with that. Yeah, but I see two issues with that. One, you're not really living forever. Eventually, the universe is no longer be around. You will eventually die. I mean, there's just not forever. However, it's effectively. But if you read a lot of these stories, and I know that you have, Phil, most of these stories that when you read things about immortality, the end result is the immortal wanting to die. It's the one thing they can't have, so they lust after that. Epic of Gilgamesh, many stories. Most immortals, the one thing they can't get is death, and so that's what they try to attain. Matter of fact, Lucifer, one of my favorite TV shows, Cain, in that particular show, his goal is to die because he was marked and he can't die, and so it's the one thing he can't do, and so he tries to die, right? So you always want something you can't have, and that's something that I think all humans and any kind of intelligent creature has. So
you would be able to choose to terminate the program. It's not like you have to stay alive. Like, you'd have that option, I guess, if you wanted to pull the disc out and power down. If
you have an option, then I think it's different. But if you don't have any option, then I think it would be a living hell, and I don't think I would put myself through it.
Sure, I agree with that, but there's got to be an option. I mean, it's a program.
That's what I think too. Is I feel if you did that once, like I said, we all like to say we'd take it a couple times. I'll get like 100 more years. There's some stuff I want to do. Or for instance, like someone who's researching, like someone like Einstein, right? Can you imagine if that was around? We could have kept Einstein's mind, creating.
I would love to go 10,000 years in the future. Instead of dying, just poof, be thrust into 10,000 years in the future and see what happens. Well, 1,000, 5,000, and just kind of jump like a time machine type thing, like an H.G. Wells thing. Go far from the future incrementally, because I think you could do that. Actually, you can't come back, but it is physically possible to go in the future. It really actually is. It wouldn't even that difficult to do. We probably could do the technology now if we had it, if we really wanted to, but unfortunately you can't ever come back. So
it would depend on, for me, it would depend on what age they offered it to me. Like if we are registered checks, but it depends on the age that they offered it to me. Like now, I think I would take it. If I'm 85 and they offer it to me, I think I don't want to stay 85 for.
I'm the opposite. I'm the opposite. Well, I would not leave my daughter right now. My daughter's, if I disappeared in the future and my daughter's 80 when I come back or something, or she's no longer around, I couldn't handle that. That'd be like her dying to me. It would just emotionally, I could not deal with that. So it would have to be long in the future when I'm 80 or something, then I would be willing to do something like that. But anyways, let's get to the super chats. I am sorry I cannot pronounce this person's name. Please forgive me. I'm just going to call him
Stevens.
I can show you his name is in Russian. I don't speak Russian. But it's 200 rubles, which is about $3. Guys, have you seen Bright Insight YouTube channel? It would be awesome to invite him to one of your hangouts. I have not. Checked into it. Have you?
I have seen Bright Insight. He actually feels the way that I do about the Sphinx. I have reached out to him.
Oh,
he's actually on my. You have on my side about this.
Interesting. Nice.
Yes, I do. Now he does go a little deeper, a little too he goes deep into some not aliens, but he's the guy. Remember when we had who did we have where we were talking about Atlantis being that big spiral, or the big spot in Africa, that big round place that
I do know who you're talking about. I do know this.
That's where I saw that video. He thinks that ring, or those rings, because in Plato's the way that Plato described Atlantis, it was like 3 outer rings of land and then 2 inner rings of water. And this actually the land topography has that. It shows that, where it's it used to be a water source, and I mean it's not Atlantis but he's convinced it is, and he's got 3 videos out there about Atlantis. So I have reached out to him, and I am aware of him, but we do agree on the Sphinx, and that's about all we agree on. But it'd be cool to come talk to him, especially about Atlantis. That would be fun to talk.
I would be interested in that.
How old do you think the Sphinx is?
Oh God, I knew he was going to go there. I was going to try to get the next super chat in, but I knew he was going to ask that.
How old do you think the Sphinx is?
How old do I think the Sphinx is? Well, the Sphinx, let's think back to the actual story. It had to be at least 3,000 years old.
I'm okay with that.
Indoctrinated.
That's a good answer. I don't know. You. NASA has paid you well to get the right answers. You Illuminati shill you.
Indoctrination. It's 10,500 years old.
Read Chariots of the Gods, In Search of Ancient Astronauts, Zachary Stitchin, Velikovsky in high school.
Because they're all coming at it from an alien. All of those people come at it from an alien standpoint, though. I do not.
Still, they argue
think that they're aliens.
I assure you. I mean, that's where this whole Leo and Sphinx in 10,500 BC came from. It's been around since I was a teenager.
The Sphinx was just created by a civilization that was smarter and more advanced than mainstream science gives them credit, or not mainstream science, mainstream Egyptologists give them credit for. That's it. That's all I'm saying. No aliens involved. No aliens involved. None of that.
None of that. Sarah B. $5. Does hating men and masculinity have anything to do with the fact that Wing Chun and his philosophies were invented by women?
Yes, there's a lot of debate on that.
Interesting.
Yes, it's possible. There's a lot of debate. It was either, but I can say with absolute certainty, it was either invented by solely one woman or a group of 5 monks, one of which was a woman. So yeah, it's very cool. And I think that does tie into, there's a cool little folklore story, which is debated a lot if it's true or not. But the 2-sentence version, let's see if we can squeeze it in, was there was a woman who was going to be forced to marry a warlord named Wing Chun. Just means eternal spring. And he said, I'm going to come back in a month and I'm going to force you to marry me, which is probably, Disney language for something else. Right. But Wing, this nun named Ying Wei taught Wing Chun the system she'd been, figuring out and creating. And then in that month, and then the warlord came back and she killed him or something, depending on the version with using the Wing Chun system. Because it's science based. It's for a smaller woman to be able to. It's disturbing. Wing Chun is very brutal. It's throat, eyes. It's not pretty stuff. So yeah. But
the other version, we give the credit to the wrong person, though. Credit to the wrong person. Then we should have named it after the nun, right?
That's the thing. Well, apparently after that, the nun said, "Oh, I'll name it after Wing Chun because she's my first student." But yeah, it's interesting, and that's sort of the folk lore. There are different versions that say, but that's the cool, fun.
Did it really start off like Muay Thai or Krav Maga? I mean, in that style, because Krav Maga is a very, very. It's not meant to render somebody incapacitated. Krav Maga, you're going to kill somebody or severely maim them. Is that how Wing Chun originally started off?
It's military, yeah. Wing Chun's the same exact way. It's tactical and it's to
I did not know that.
Destroy someone's body. Yeah, to destroy someone's body.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah. There's no Wing Chun's pretty much in its truest form is picture a mad dog just coming at you and maiming you and trying to tear you to shreds. You could be stabbing it, you could be shooting it. It's just gonna still try and kill you. That's pretty much Wing Chun. And a fight's supposed to last 3 seconds and everything in its purest form. Because again, it's just attack the vitals essentially. It's pretty crazy stuff. So that's why I said it's not very it's different from the competition standpoint, right? It's for that someone's trying to stab you in an alley.
And Ikinu 5, $3. Just because I like your show, going on sec. Thank you, Ikinu.
And Kidu,
we like you too. Love his channel. If you guys have not seen his channel, go check it out. He has some funny ass freaking videos, man.
Right.
I love his videos. Very well done.
I have a question. That I think that you said earlier, and you made the point about how there's a distinction between what an alpha male is and somebody that may think that they're an alpha male, but when they get in that situation, they're really not. And there's been a influx. We actually did a show on this. It's really disturbing on this group of people that call themselves incels. Are you familiar with incels?